Olive Garden. When you're here, you're family, until you have to take off work because you're sick or because your dog dies. In that case, get out. You may have seen Olive Garden in the news recently because of a manager that decided that they weren't going to tolerate anyone taking off work for any reason. Ignore the fact that this is the worst flu season doctors are saying they've ever seen and that there's a rise in COVID cases. All of that aside, a manager at an Olive Garden in Overland Park, Kansas has been fired recently because of a message they sent out to all of their workers regarding the fact that too many people have been taking off work. The message begins with, "Attention all team members." We're already starting off with passive aggressiveness. Quote, "We are no longer tolerating any excuse for calling off. If you're sick, you need to come prove it to us." All right. Isn't the whole point that if you're sick, you're supposed to not go into work? If you have COVID, the last thing you probably want to do is haul your butt into work to say, "Hey, I have COVID." But that's not it. The manager then goes on to say, "If your dog died, you need to bring him in and prove it to us." Excuse me? Either this person is just completely heartless, or they have never experienced a dog or family pet dying at any point in their life. But okay, let's say hypothetically that if a person did bring their dead dog in to prove it to the manager, you can bet that the manager would not want that to happen, especially considering that you work in a restaurant. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine the number of health violations that would bring. The manager then goes on to say, "If anyone from here on out calls out more than once in the next 30 days, you will not have a job. I got in a wreck on my way to work. The airbags went off and my car was totaled, but you know what? I made it to work on time." And I guess that they think that that's like a bragging point, being like, "Oh yeah, I'm such a good worker. I showed up even whenever I got into a wreck and my car was totaled." And it just makes me feel sad. You didn't have to go into work that day. Like, I completely understand if you need the money, like that paycheck is really important. I get that. I really do. The manager goes on to say that in the restaurant business, they don't want to be there on Friday and Saturday nights. And I understand where they're coming from. I've worked a lot of customer service jobs at this point, and I definitely get, working the shifts that you don't want to work. But at the same time, they're old enough to understand that life gets in the way. You shouldn't mandate that your workers disclose if it's a family emergency and what that family emergency actually is. I feel like people tend to go on power trips whenever they're in a position of authority, and this manager seems to have completely gone over the rails. Olive Garden released a statement shortly after saying that they've parted ways with the manager, and yeah, that may be a worker that you don't want to have anything to do with anymore. Some people abuse the system when they can take advantage of your generosity and your kindness, but the thing is, it's not everyone. If that's the case, you can weed out those people. You shouldn't punish the other workers who may have never missed a day of work, but then something drastic happens and they have to miss a shift. Like, you shouldn't fire them because of that, especially if they don't want to tell you what's happening. Being strict can sometimes be justified, but in this instance, it's clear that the manager crossed a line that they would never be able to come back from. You can't send a message out like this to your workers and not expect backlash, especially today when if anyone is being unreasonable, it just gets blasted on social media all the time. But what do you think? Was the manager being unreasonable, or do you agree with their new policy? Let me know down in the comments. That is all I have for today's video, so if you liked it, please give the video a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, then subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!